I've clicked onto the Global Tropical RB for August the 20th, 2023. As is always the case in these videos, the thoughts expressed are mine alone and will make decisions ahead of any tropical cyclones. Look towards your local weather office, local emergency management, and local tropical cyclone warning center. We have several systems that we're going to be talking about today. I'm going to leave timestamps in the description so you all can skip to whatever you want to see. But we're going to start off briefly with Tropical Storm Hilary as it moves into the southwestern United States today. The system has continued to weaken and made landfall over the Baja California Peninsula today, and now has winds of about 60 miles per hour sustained with it. And the system is continuing to push its moisture into the southwestern U.S., and heavy rainfall is spreading over, and we have had some flooding issues already today, and that will likely continue, unfortunately, throughout the rest of the day today and into the early part of the week. Now, the system center is forecast to track generally north at a pretty quick pace. You can see the forward speed is about 23 miles per hour, so pretty quick. That's good. The system is not going to come in here and stall like so many systems in prior years have in the rest of the United States, but significant winds of up to 60 miles per hour are possible. That could lead to some power outages, and we could absolutely have some more flooding issues. In fact, that's expected with the current excessive rainfall, like from the Weather Prediction Center. But you can see getting northwards here tomorrow morning, and as it pushes north, the rainfall will leave the southwestern U.S., but it will move into the northwest and the northern Rockies, where we could have some significant rainfall here as well. You can see that in the Weather Prediction Center excessive rainfall outlook. I might refresh it to see if there's a new outlook. Looks like that might be just about the same one, but you can see, of course, the most significant risk being the moderate and high risk regions in California and Nevada, but the slight risk, the elevated risk, stretching up north into Montana, where we could still have some significant rainfall there as the remnants of Hilary pushes north. But we're close to being done with this storm, and hopefully recovery is fairly quick in the southwestern U.S., and I hope that things aren't as bad as was forecast in the southwestern U.S., but considering the magnitude of the rainfall event, unfortunately it looks like everything has gone through like forecast, and we've had a lot of significant rainfall, and I hope everyone there has prepared and has been safe throughout the event. Now we're going to move to the Atlantic here, as we have several systems active right now. We're only going to go in depth on 2 of them, but the Atlantic is very active. Much of a difference to about a week or 2 ago, where we had almost no systems active in the Atlantic. We have Invest 91L here in the Gulf of Mexico. This system is developing pretty nicely throughout the day today, and it has a pretty good shot of becoming a tropical cyclone as it gets towards the south coast of Texas. We also have newly formed Tropical Storm Franklin. This system could intensify before it comes into Hispaniola and moves further north throughout this week. We have TD6 here, moving westwards, will likely dissipate over the next couple of days. Tropical Storm Emily here has formed in the tropical Atlantic. This system will recurve harmlessly out to sea, impacting nobody. And then we have a tropical wave here impacting the Cabo Verde Islands, which has a decent chance of formation as it heads northwest. And there are also more tropical waves that will come off the coast of Africa over the coming weeks, and these will also have chances of development in their own right as we come offshore, but we'll deal with those when we get there. Let's deal with the systems that we've got right now. We're only going to go in depth on 91L and Franklin. Let's start off with Franklin. Here's the close-up visible loop as the sun starts to set over the region. You can see the question today has been, has the system had a closed low-level center? We knew yesterday it had a pretty sharp trough axis as it was coming through the windward islands. The question was, had it developed westerly winds to close off an area of low pressure? You can see that earlier in the day, the low-level center was actually a bit exposed, and we did get a sense of westerly winds on the southern side of that. Alongside that, we had a recon plane fly in, and that confirmed a pretty well-defined low-level center and winds of about 45 miles per hour with Franklin. This is a pretty well-developed tropical cyclone, and is overperforming compared to what models had initially anticipated. And I can show you that just here. The GFS, if I go in time, does not actually have this developing into a tropical cyclone until, say, Wednesday. So here we are on Sunday, and we have a formed tropical cyclone a couple days before the GFS actually has it. Now, tonight's runs, in fact, the afternoon run might be coming in now. It doesn't look like it's corrected fully yet on this afternoon run, but by the next run tonight, we should see a correction with recon data getting into the models, including the hurricane models as well. And we'll get to see models like the HWRF and the HAFS models of what they expect for the storm. And they're very good with recon data, particularly HWRF can be really good with recon data. So we'll see exactly what they predict. But regardless, the system is a tropical cyclone now, and it is forecast to generally track northwestwards and make a northwards turn into Hispaniola later this week. And what's driving that turn is an upper trough that is forecast to develop over the Bahamas and Florida. You can see that here developing here quite nicely, and this changes the steering flow to more northerly, changing the storm's direction to go over Hispaniola. Now, we do have a bit of uncertainty today on exactly how far west or east the system is when it comes through Hispaniola. The GFS is on the idea of it coming into eastern Hispaniola and the Dominican Republic, and this would be good for Franklin, as it would be tracking into the lower terrain of Hispaniola, and it would likely still weaken a little bit, but it wouldn't be as disrupted as it would be if it takes a European approach to where it comes a bit further west and then comes through the higher terrain of Haiti. Now, something to note with the European model is it is also being very weak with Franklin. In fact, it doesn't actually form it into a tropical cyclone, you'll see here, until it gets east of the Turks and Caicos Islands, all the way on Friday. So this system might be taking the low-level flow on the model a bit more than the GFS does, and more than it would actually do in reality, because it actually has not formed into a tropical cyclone. It would not feel the effects of the upper trough nearly as much. So in a sense like this, I would more trust the GFS solution, at least something closer to the GFS solution, or maybe something in between the European and the GFS seems to be the best scenario right now, taking it into central Hispaniola. And you can see the National Hurricane Center has done this in their forecast cone, taking the system generally into central Hispaniola with a tropical storm watch in place for the southern coast. And they do show some intensification of the system to about a high-end tropical storm. And at max, I'd expect the system, when it comes into Hispaniola, to have winds of, say, 65 to 75 miles per hour. I wouldn't expect the system to rapidly intensify into a big hurricane before it comes through here. The conditions, I don't think, would really support that too well, though they will certainly allow for some gradual intensification as it comes towards the coastline. But you can see as well that the National Hurricane Center forecasts some additional strengthening after the Caribbean. And this is a big question mark that we talked about yesterday. What exactly happens after the Caribbean islands, as this system is forecast to have a fairly favorable environment. You can see as it comes north, here we are on Thursday or late Wednesday, you can see this trough here over the Gulf of Mexico, and we have general anticyclonic flow aloft, which is a fairly favorable look for Franklin. Now, there will be some westerly shear impinged upon it. You can see as we get towards Thursday night and Friday, there is some more of a westerly push upon Franklin by this time on the model, but it doesn't look like this will be too inhibitive, at least in the GFS model. We actually see the system intensify further as it heads further north, and by a week out, we have an intensifying hurricane coming further north. Now, if we look at the European model, it is a bit slower to development, and it is also much more west. Notice how the system is not sort of taking this bend then towards Bermuda like the GFS takes. The system here just takes more of a track northwest and gets uncomfortably close to the United States, and this could be something to monitor for Bermuda and the United States. And I know there's going to be a lot of questions here of people in the United States and in Bermuda. Could this actually hit us? And there is some reason to watch this storm. Here's the GFS 500 millibar flow, and this is at day 5. We have this trough here over this northern Atlantic, and this is what has sort of carried Franklin northwards here on the model. We also have this ridge here northeast of that trough, and we also have a little shortwave trough here over the northern United States. What's going to happen here in this model is this trough will weaken, and this ridge will expand further west, and we'll also see this shortwave come into the mid-Atlantic, and we'll see it intensify into an upper low off the coast, or well, just onshore. And you can see this play out. Here we are by 7 days out. We have the system intensifying as a hurricane as it comes north. And now this pattern gets a little bit rocky. We have a ridge here east of the system, and we have this upper low here. In a general sense, this looks like a fairly well-defined recurvature pattern, or at least a pattern that would likely bring it northward. So we could have a recurve, we could get it close to Canada. Now, there have been some uncertainties with this trough here. Some GFS runs have had this further north and attached to this trough up here by Greenland. We've also had some runs where this is also a bit further southwest. And I can show you that here if we look at the model solutions here. This is the model trend. You can see we've had runs with a deep trough here over the United States and even another low here. Well, that actually might be Franklin on the model here. But you can see just how much this upper pattern up north has changed over the past few runs. Now, in this general pattern, like I said, you would generally get a recurvature or system coming close to Canada, and you would probably get a system coming close to Bermuda in this sense. Now, of course, there is also uncertainty here. Where is the storm in this forecast? And that also plays into the role of how close is it to this upper low. If it takes a European approach where it is further west and this upper low is in a similar position like this, it is possible that this low starts to pivot this storm northwest, and it could threaten the mid-Atlantic or the northeastern United States. Alternatively, it could still just carry the system out to sea, and we could still get a recurvature or get the system coming to Canada. There's a lot of scenarios here, and the reason I'm showing you this is just to show you this is a lot of uncertainty here, and this is natural because this is 7 days out. It's impossible to tell you exactly where the storm is going to go 7 days plus out. So that's just something to keep in mind, and the best thing to do for those in the Bermuda and the United States is just monitor it. Don't see it as an imminent threat, but just stay tuned to your local weather office and stay tuned to the National Hurricane Center advisories. They're going to have the best information on what the system is going to do. And of course, I'll have videos out throughout the next week as we go through all of these systems in the Atlantic. And we'll talk about further the potential future of Franklin as we go through. All right, now we're going to move to the Gulf of Mexico system, Invest 91L here. It has come into the Gulf of Mexico today, and the system is looking pretty good, I have to admit. And you can see lots of convection sort of disorganized around the center, but it looks convectively healthy. Alongside that, we have a lot of outflow around it. We have upper level ridging, and you can see that on the water vapor loop with this general anticyclonic flow aloft. This is that anticyclonic flow aloft that the GFS and other models had been predicting, and it has come true. And this is a fairly favorable look for the system. And the question today is exactly the same as we had with Franklin earlier today. Does the system have westerly winds on the southern side? We know it has a general trough axis like this, but the question is down here, do we see westerlies? And there might be some evidence of westerlies, but if there are any, they're fairly weak at this time, and this is still most likely an open tropical wave. But the system is doing a bit better than models had depicted. They had not really shown the system getting much in any way of westerly winds this early. This might be a sign of things to come as the system comes west, and given developments today, it looks like the system has a very good shot at becoming a tropical cyclone. Now, the GFS shows a similar picture to what it has shown the past few days, showing the system becoming a brief tropical cyclone just before coming ashore, and you can see the European has a similar picture with a bit of a weaker signature overall, but a developing area of low pressure nonetheless as it comes into South Texas. Now, the good news here is, regardless of tropical cyclone or tropical wave here, the system is going to be bringing some beneficial rainfall to areas in Texas and Mexico that really need it. Unfortunately, I don't think we're going to get this system too far north because of the strong ridge across the central United States. So, unfortunately for central Texas, we're not really going to get much beneficial rain to tackle the drought, but we'll get what we can take here, and at least the system is not going to be a big hurricane coming in. That's one good thing with this. It does not have too much time to intensify. If this system was already a tropical cyclone, say now or earlier, then we would have more of a concern for the system being a stronger system by the time it got into the western Gulf of Mexico. But considering now it's still a tropical wave, it's unlikely to become anything too strong, and I'd expect still max a weak tropical storm as it comes towards Texas. This is the tropical weather outlook from the National Hurricane Center. Very busy map still. You can see Invest 91L here. They're giving the system about a 60% chance of developing. I wouldn't be surprised to see them go 70% chance, even at a high chance for the next outlook. But you can also see all the other systems that we've talked about: Franklin, 6, Emily, and our next tropical wave that is likely to develop as well. They're also giving this one about a 60% chance of formation that tracks northwest. But that was a lot to talk about, much longer of a video than I usually do, but the tropics are very active, and it's just a reminder for those in the Atlantic and the Pacific, have your hurricane preparedness kits ready. We're getting into the peak of hurricane season, so your time is running out to prepare. Stay safe in the southwestern U.S. as Hilary passes through, and stay safe in Hispaniola and Puerto Rico as that system, Franklin, moves through, and I'll have future videos further this week. But that's it for now. Thanks for watching.